Greetings to everybody. Welcome to the literature reading session. We are reading from Talks on Gita by Vinobha Bhave. We are on the chapter of Contemplation of Divine Manifestations, how God manifests in plants, trees, animals, water, everywhere. So these are the thoughts that Vinobha Bhavaji is sharing for us, his understanding of Gita. But the first thing, as a seeker, we need to realize is that we are asleep. We need to make great efforts to become alert, become attentive, and to become and develop this ability of watchfulness, which will lead us to that state of witness, which the great masters are trying to instill in us, bring us to that state of being. And that is why we know that all the great masters have said this statement: arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. So first step is to wake up and become aware, and then the goal is possible. That is why revered Daji has beautifully said to us that in spirituality you are the experiment and you are the experimenter and you are the outcome. You are trying on your own self, you are experimenting on yourself, and the transformation is your own, yourself, realizing that self. What does it mean that our inner self is the field of experimentation? And we have to become the experimenter, being awake. And there is the possibility, because of that awakened state, of watchful state, the possibility of a transformed self, which the masters call as the state of witness. And that is the state that is praised by sage Patanjali and as Dhyanaja Chitta, a mind that is able to be in a state of meditation, a meditative mind, and a mind that is free. What is a meditative mind? That Daji keeps on saying every morning you have to arrive at that state of being and hold on to that state of being. A mind that is not held by the past or the future or the known or the unknown. The mind is free of the past. That is a meditative mind. Because we are bound by the past. Every time we are judging somebody, we are in the past. Anything that we are thinking negative, we are in the past. So that is why a meditative mind is a very positive mind. It is not in the past at all, it is in the now. And that is why our Babaji Maharaj has said here and now. So how to arrive at this state? We learn that by regular meditation, we bring the mind to centeredness, and with cleaning techniques, we remove the patterns of our behavior. And the next step is we utilize this mind that has been trained with the power of intention, absolute positivity, using that mind, and to bring that absolute transformation. Because we've been sleeping for a lot of all these ages, we've been asleep, we are not awake. So each cell, each fiber of our mind is asleep. So it's not a small thing. So we have to make great efforts to become alert, to become attentive, to become watchful, to become a witness. And silence is the space in which one awakens. That is why our masters with the meditation are trying to move the noisy mind into this silence. Because noisy mind is the space in which one remains asleep. They are not awakened. In the silence is a space one awakens. So if our mind continues to chattering, that means we are not awakened yet. In that utter silence, awareness wells up in us. It comes from within, and that's the purpose of our sadhana, our practice. So the call of the masters, if understood correctly, is we rejoice in life, in love, in meditation, in the beauty of the world, and transform this mundane journey on the earth into a sacred journey. So that is why the Buddhists call it vivekfulness. Wakefulness is the way of life. So for that we practice. And in one of his poems, Kabir Das ji says, he talks about the devotion part, and he says the part of bhakti is very delicate. And he says when the ego is subdued, the feeling is expressed as bhakti, devotion. And he also mentions that the path of karma, action, is heavy, gross. Like you give bread to the hungry, care for the sick, help the poor people. All that karma is in the matter level. So it is not fine, refined level of service. So usually, people who are materialistic and are attached to the earth plane or attracted to karma because matter is the closest to karma. But if we can move that action, according to the Gita, in the state of surrender, they act to divine, and then it will become fruitful. That is why they keep adding in Bhagavad Gita, even though karma is the highest. If we connect ourselves, arrive at that state of surrender, then that kind of karma is fruitful. Otherwise, karma action is connected to the matter. Whereas meditation is subtle. Karma is gross, connected to matter. And meditation is subtle because it is in the energy field, the mind field, where you are trying to transform the state of being, arriving at that, bringing that mind to that state of dhyana chitta, a meditative mind. But in between these two, Kabir Das ji says there is a delicate bhakti. Why does he call it delicate? Delicate means that which needs a lot of care in handling. Like when musicians are tuning their instrument, they're bringing that instrument to a delicate place of balance so it can produce the right music. So devotion is, which is the field of absolute, needs such delicate handling because it is in the middle of jnana, which is energy field, and karma, matter field. So without that bhakti, the either jnana or karma do not come to fruition. So that is why Kabir Das ji says the path of bhakti is delicate. And even in his poem, he says, neither averse it nor desirous of it. I am lost at your feet, Lord. He says, neither hate it nor desire it. Because devotion at one extreme is this passionate desire, and the other extreme is no desire. So that is why he calls it a delicate balance. So what his thought is, he says in devotion, appear before the master like there is nothing to desire. You stand in front of him, but you ask for nothing. Why? Because I wondered, why are you saying that, oh, ask for nothing when you stand in front of the beloved? Because he says the moment you ask, the connection breaks. And this is according to Kabirji. The moment you ask the beloved for something, the connection, there is a slight break because you are asking for something, because what you ask divine is becoming more important to you, and he became the secondary. And that's why our masters have said, ask for him. So the thought of Kabir Das ji about bhakti is you stand before the divine as if you are a beggar and yet there is no desire at all. Because when a beggar goes to the master, they're begging for something. But your state of being in devotion is like you are a beggar, but yet you ask nothing. And that is why the state of bhakti is so delicate. And coming to this chapter of talks on the Bhagavad Gita, where he's talking about contemplation of God's manifestation or divine manifestation, he's talking about seeing divinity in everything. And the holy river Ganga, when I was at Kashi, Benares, I used to go and sit alone on her banks in the silent hours of the night. How lovely and pleasing the Ganga is as she flows. That serene and majestic expanse and the countless stars in the sky reflected therein would make me silent. See, that is the reason why he went to the banks of the Ganges is to feel the silence. The holy river has descended from the matted locks of Lord Shiva, that is, from the Himalayan forests. Many kings cast off their kingdoms, considering them no better than a bauble, and performed austerities and penance on its banks for self realization. This Chariji has once written a beautiful article called Price. Even if you give the head, the kings have given their head for a moment of this peace. The sight of that holy river would give me an experience of sheer peace. How can I describe that peace? Words fail in describing it. I would then realize why a Hindu wishes that if he cannot take a bath in the Ganga during his lifetime, at least his remains should be immersed in her after death. You may ridicule such sentiments, that does not matter. I find such sentiments sacred and worth cherishing. It is a custom to put a couple of drops of the Ganga water in the mouth of a dying man. These drops symbolize God's grace. The Ganga is the form of the divine. In the form of the Ganga, it is His compassion that is flowing. Like a mother, Mother Ganga, the river, cleans us all over, washes off all the impurities of our body and the mind. If you do not find the Lord in the river Ganges, where else would you find Him? The sun, the rivers, the majestic roaring ocean, all these are forms of the divinity. And the winds, when they come and where they go, nobody knows. They are the messengers of the Lord. And this is one of the reasons why, after every bandara, after every gathering in the Sajma tradition, it always rains. And in some of the gatherings, we see the rainbow, and the masters call it auspicious because nature is touched by the divine grace by such spiritual gatherings. It is expressing itself in joy. That is why the masters considered those omens as sacred. In India, winds blow from the unmoving Himalayas in the north as well as from the serene ocean in the south. These holy winds touch us and awaken us. They whisper melodies in our ears. But who cares to hear their message? If the jailer withholds an ordinary letter addressed to you, you feel dejected. Poor wretch, what is there so precious in that letter? The winds are bringing the Lord's loving messages every moment. Listen to them. The Vedas have prescribed fire worship. Fire is Agni. It too, fire is also a form of divine. How bright and blazing it is. When you rub two wooden sticks against each other, it reveals itself. Who knows where it was hidden till then? It is so full of warmth and luminous. The very first hymn in the Rig Veda, in fact, is about fire worship. It says, look at the fire, with whose worship the Veda begins. The flames of fire remind me of the quest of the human soul to reach up to the Lord. That is why Daji has explained to us about the fire point. The fire signifies love, and it is However you put it, even if you turn the candle down, the fire lights up. Ascension. It gives ascension. With this pure love, the soul ascends to the higher realms. And the flames may be from a kitchen stove or they may belong to a forest fire. They're always striving to go upwards. They're always agitated and restless. Scientists may say that their fluttering is due to ether or air pressure, but I see it in it their quest to reach the Supreme Spirit, to reach the Sun God who is the ocean of luminosity. It is a quest of the part to merge into the whole. The endless quest of the flames starts with their creation and ceases only on their extinction. That the sun is too distant never bothers them. All they know is to make the best possible effort. It appears that the bright and the glowing heat of Vairagya has assumed the form of the fire. The flame of Vairagya also does not remain still, whatever it is. That is why the Veda began with Agnimitro, God in the animals. And the cattle that serve us, how full of love, tenderness, and affection the cow is. This is almost the essence of one technique that our masters have taught that, you know, Brahman is everywhere and you are absorbed in the absolute that is everywhere. And everything is absorbed in the same Brahman. You are absorbed in the Brahman. And everything around you, animals, plants, animate, inanimate, everything is absorbed in the same divine. How full of love and tenderness and affection the cow is. In the evening, it rushes to its calf over hills and through forests. The Vedic sages are reminded of the heavy uddered cows rushing to their calves to feed them when they see rivers gushing through hilly ranges. The sages says to river, O goddess, like cows you bring milk like holy and sweet water. Just as cows cannot stay back in the forest, you too cannot stay back in the hills. You rush to meet your thirsty children. The waters rush to the sea like the loving cows eager to meet their calves. The divine is there at your door in the form of the affectionate cow. And the horse, how noble, how faithful, how loyal it is. How dearly the Arabs love their horses. Do you know the story of the Arab who was compelled by financial difficulties to sell his horse? He went to the stable with the bag full of money received as its price. But the moment he glanced at the serene and loving eyes of the horse, he threw away the money and said, Come what may, let me die of hunger if I must, but I will not sell the horse. Divinity will help me. How the horse snorts when we pat its back, how lovely its mane is. Indeed, the horse has many qualities. What is there in a bicycle? Look after a horse well, and it will be ready to die for you. It will become your friend. A friend of mine was learning to ride, but the horse would not let him mount it. When he complained about it, I told him, You try to ride the horse, but do you ever care for it? When someone else looks after the horse and you want to ride it, how will it work? Rub it down, give it food and water, and then try. The friend did accordingly. He came to me after a few days and said, Now the horse does not throw me off. The horse too is a form of the divine. Will the Lord throw off his devotee? The horse yielded to my friend's devotion. A horse does see whether the rider is a devotee or not. Lord Krishna used to look after the horses himself. Unlike a bicycle, a horse jumps over ditches and ascends the hills. The graceful and the loving horse is verily a form of divine. Incidentally and strangely. In Dayton area, we have something called as a farm where there is healing horses. And some people take their children who are not well, and just by touching the horse and by sitting on that horse, the children are healed. And we have witnessed that. In my childhood, I was at Baroda. There I used to hear a lion's resonant roar in the morning. That majestic sound would move my heart. It used to reverberate in the depth of my heart like the sound in the sanctorum of a temple. How gallant and benign the lion looks. It has a regal gait and elegance. Its beautiful mane appears like a royal insignia. That lion in Baroda was caged. It would roam inside the cage. There was not a trace of cruelty in its eyes. They were rather full of pity. It appeared absorbed within itself, totally unconcerned with the world. One feels that such a lion must indeed be a manifestation of the Lord. In my childhood, I had read the story of Androcles and the lion. How fascinating it is. The famished lion remembered Androcles' kindness and instead of devouring him, began to lick his feet lovingly. What does this mean? This means that Androcles had seen the Lord in the lion. Lord Shiva is also accompanied by a lion. The lion is a manifestation of the Lord. No, once I had this experience. I'm not much of an animal. I'm not fond of animals. My children love dogs and cats, and I'm like, okay. In our garage, once I saw a raccoon like being, and it was hiding under the refrigerator. It was winter time. So I had to take a stick and tap it. And while it was going, it looked at me. And there was something in it because it was very cold. But I couldn't keep it in my garage. So I had to take a stick and drive it. And when it turned back and looked at me, something bothered me that there was life in this animal. And the very next trip within months, with not even in months, with that very few weeks, I traveled to India. And my flight got cancelled in London. It was pitch winter, but I thought, I didn't take big jackets. Oh, I'm just getting in the plane and I will go to India, and India weather is good. So I didn't take any winter gear. I was stuck in London and they did not give me the hotel. So I had to go out to take a taxi to go to find a hotel in the middle of the night. And I was standing outside in bitter cold with no winter and I was shivering. And that moment I realized the look of that animal. It was shivering. So that is why karma is also a very delicate fine line. We can't escape anything. That is why Babuji makes us say, repent for the wrongs committed at the end of the day, for things done knowingly or unknowingly. I did it unknowingly, yet I was helpless. I had to drive the animal out, but it suffered the winters, and I had to suffer the same suffering that the animal suffered. And I'm not kidding. And the moment in that winter cold, I was praying to Master, and I had my bags, and then suddenly there is a taxi, and he says, I am coming here for somebody. I just hopped into the taxi and said, I don't care, you call me another taxi. I left my bags there. That situation made me realize how we are bound by karma and how our thoughts and actions have to constantly be pure, and we have to have that awareness. So that is why this, Vinobha Bhave, all these people that are enlightened people, they see the divinity in animals and plants and everything. And that's why he wrote a whole chapter about it. If we think about it, what is he writing about? Horses and tigers and cows and, we feel like laughing sometimes in our ignorance. But it must hold significance. And is the tiger less fascinating? Divine brilliance shines through it. It is not possible to befriend it. Panini, the great grammarian, was teaching his students in the forest when a tiger came there. The students shouted in alarm, Tiger, tiger. But Panini calmly began explaining to them the etymology of the word tiger. Tiger is one having an acute sense of smell. The students had gotten frightened, but to Panini, Vyagra, the tiger, was just an innocent and interesting word. The tiger ate him up, but so what? What is striking is that Panini did not run away. He was a devotee of God in the form of words. For him, God was in everything, even in the tiger. That is why he is reverentially referred to as Lord Panini in the commentaries, and his contribution is acknowledged with deep gratitude. The statement says, "We bow to Panini, who opened the eyes of the people, blind with ignorance, by putting the collyrium of knowledge in them." Jnanadeva said, "Let heaven descend to his house, or a tiger attacked him. He remains anchored in the self." This anchoring in the self, realizing the self, was the entire quest of all the great sages. Panini had reached such a stage, he had realized that a tiger too was a manifestation of the Lord. This is true of the snake too. People are very much afraid of it. But look how scrupulously clean and beautiful it is. In its stern regard for cleanliness, it is comparable to an orthodox Brahmin. Dirty Brahmins, however, in abundance has anybody even seen a dirty snake? A snake is like a hermit living in solitude. It looks like a pure, bright, and charming garland. Why should one be afraid of it? In fact, our ancestors have prescribed snake worship. You may call it an idiotic, superstitious practice in Hinduism. But anyway, it is there. In childhood, on the day of Naga Panchami day, the celebration of the snake day, I would draw a snake with sandalwood paste for my mother to worship. I would tell her, "Nice pictures of snakes are available in the market." But she would say, "They are no good. What is drawn by my child is the best for me." What does the snake worship mean? Is it craziness? Let us think over it. In the month of Shravana, that is the rainy season, the snake comes as a guest to our house, as its habitat is swamped by water. What can the poor creature do then? This sage like solitude loving creature wants to give you the least possible trouble and therefore coils itself, taking minimum space. But we go after its blood. Does it behave us to kill a guest in difficulty? It is said of Saint Francis that he would call the snakes in the forest and they would come and play and crawl all over his body. Do not disbelieve this. Love does have such a power. The snakes are said to be poisonous, but is man less so? A snake bites very rarely. It never bites without provocation. 9 out of 10 snakes, at any rate, are non poisonous. They protect your fields by killing pests that would otherwise destroy the crops. Such a helpful, clean, and shining snake, the lover of solitude, is a form of the Lord. Snakes are associated with all gods in some way or the other. Lord Ganapati wears a snake around his waist. Lord Shiva has it round his neck. And Lord Vishnu reclines on a snake for a bed. Try to understand the secret of it. All this means that the Lord has manifested himself in the snake too. Get acquainted with him in that form. How many such examples should I give? I am just illustrating a point. The essence of Ramayana lies in such fascinating ideas. In Ramayana, there is a depiction of love between the father and the son, between the mother and the son, between brother and brother, between husband and wife. But it is dear to me not because of that, but because of Rama's friendship with the monkeys. Now it is said that the monkeys were humans belonging to the Naga tribe. It is the job of the historians to dig up the past and make such discoveries. I do not intend to join issue with them. See, even he had the wisdom there because our master's communication with Hanumanji said they were not monkeys, they belonged to a particular tribe. And how humanity has changed their face and added tails to them. And Vinobha Bhave is already in tune with that concept. Rama's greatness and the charm of his personality lie in this friendship. Similar is the relationship between Krishna and the cows. And our master also describes, Jesus having a lamb that describes that state of being at that point 9, he says. Worship of Krishna is based on that relationship. In every picture of Krishna, we find him surrounded by the cows. He is adored as Krishna the cowherd. Krishna without the company of cows and Rama without the company of the monkeys are simply inconceivable. Rama saw divine in the monkeys and made friends with them. This is the key to Ramayana. Without it, you would miss the charm in it. You would find the depiction of relationship between parents and children elsewhere. But the beautiful relationship between man and the monkey is found only in Ramayana. The Ramayana made us realize that there is divinity in the monkeys too. The sages admired the monkeys fondly. Those monkeys would travel from Ramtek to the Krishna river, skipping from tree to tree without ever touching the ground. Such dense forests and the monkeys playing therein with, with joy abandon would move the sages to write poetry. In an Upanishad, Brahman is described as having eyes like a monkey. A monkey's eyes are restless. They're always watching everything around. Brahman, the divine eyes, ought to be like him. God cannot sit still with closed eyes. We may. If God sits still, what will happen to the world? In the monkey's eyes, the sages see the eyes of the Brahman watching all of us solicitously. Learn to see the divine in a monkey. We will stop here and we'll finish the chapter on Thursday. Let us all now meditate.